speaking of KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions, I mean, Edutainment, the album itself,
Oh,
is one of the best examples of that.
yeah, yeah,
And that's something that was obviously a hallmark of his career.
yeah.
And the other thing throughout Child of a Kingsman I thought was so powerful too is like on Wing Chun, how you say desire to protect peace and preserve a life. So
Ooh,
it's not main thing I would just want people that are watching this to understand this is not, yes, there's somber moments and all this other stuff, but it's also speaking about things that can actually be done to help, which is protect peace, promote these
yeah,
positive things.
right, right.
So, why was that so significant and important for you to make sure to address as well?
Um, I kind of took the aspect on that particular song. I kind of took the aspect of imagining because I always like to imagine if I was to film a video to what do I want to see? That'll reflect easily what I want to hear, and then I get to writing. When I remember the film Wing Chun, it was crazy. I'm sorry, Kingsman. It was crazy because there was a scene where, and it was reflecting reality, where someone unfortunately went into a church with a gun, and they were trying to deter that, and it started off into a fight scene. The crazy thing was, it was the what caught me was, yes, of course, that's what has happened in the past, unfortunately, in our society. But what caught me was on that particular scene, this is part one, it was the camera angle. The camera angle was like in a third party, kind of like video gamers are used to that third angle. I was treating that like the mic. That was like the mic. And what was going on wasn't just fighting. What was going on was politics, and the left side, the right side, and violence and gun control, um, adultery, absence of black fathers. All of these things were weapons, were fight scenes. And I imagine if I had filmed a video virtually in my brain, those would be the things that I would be talking about. So I called it Wing Chun because, like I said, comparing the movie to what my version of that scene would have been in the hip hop, those are the things that I would have been talking about. So that's why, being that I'm a fan of martial arts, but I'm not a martial artist myself, I literally called that Wing Chun instead of calling it um, um, something that I chanted on the hook or that the Aaron Green sang on the hook. I called it that because it was supposed to be a symbol of what a lyrical fight scene in my brain was going on, and the subject matter that I was talking about. Um, like all these things that's going on 2025, but you can still find my heart in the 90s. The musical makeup, I wish you would take them kind of confused, and I just went off thinking of all those things that was going on. So that was kind of like where I went with it.
Yeah. Also in Wing Chun, you talk about who needs help to pursue them goals. It's like that's
Yeah,
that's the other thing of like if we don't help each other and we're not striving for something, preferably positive, of course, but if we're not
right.
trying to progress, then all this is for nothing anyway.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I originally wrote that song to a Knots beat that I wish I had because it was a beat that he did that totally sounded so unorthodox. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it. But I will say it was more raw. This one seemed more musical, but it still had that essence of the boom bap in it. And it felt like the moment I heard it, it literally felt like a fight scene. Like when you see a movie that's being built up to the end, and there's that ultimate Jet Li or Donnie Yen fight scene, Michelle Yeoh and anything everywhere all at once. That's what the instrumental sounded like to me. So I just went in and said, okay, what would my take on this be? And I know you see movies where you're like everything, anything all at once. I kind of took inspiration a little bit from that. Same thing with the multiverse track. And that's where I was attacking that. If it was a lyrical fighting scene,
Hmm.
that's where the song came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also on a similar theme on multiverse, you're talking about get away from me if you're scared of trying.
Yeah.
So in obviously a lot of people are struggling now and have struggled throughout time. How have you found in your darkest moments or your when you're super frustrated, you're able to push through?
First and foremost is because of family. Having family in my life is definitely definitely been a big deterrent. Support system, which I know not everybody has, but the arts, dance, um, and seeing all of my friends that I grew up prevailing, um, whether that be a Mad Lib or a Metaphor. Oh no, these are like my fellow homeboys that I grew up with. Those things serve as inspiration. So, like when I said, seeking some form of inspiration to just go there, take a risk, and stop playing in our safe. I feel like a lot of times we're so used to playing. What do you call it when you play things too safe because that's what you're used to. We're done with that. The days of wishing the record label would do this and complaining about stuff that we can't change. We're done with all that. We could do some of these things ourselves. I'm learning this with film production and things that I'm witnessing with my son doing. And, my point is, yes, people need help, but that doesn't mean give them the control to be the only source of help when you could do a lot of things yourself. Get back to the work. Get to just making things happen. Manifestation. That's like such a key right there. I wish I could do this. I think I could do this. Nah, it's like when I do this and the day it happens, I don't know when, but when it happens, this is what's going to happen. I want to collab with this artist. That's what I never used to think like that. You know, if it was an artist I wanted to work with, I used to be, now it's like, it just seems weird. Maybe my thought process seems overly confident and I might come across like that. It's because the things I'm saying, I'm really witnessing. And it's amazing. It's dope. I wish this version of myself would have told the Wildchild back in the Lootpack day, keep doing what you're doing, but add a little bit of this to it. Step out your comfort zone. Do this. Change. There's so many things of advice I could give myself. Right now, I'm just living through that and I'm sharing it on the music. So when people see it, it's almost like sometimes they're thinking yes, I'm happy, but we all go through our troubles and tribulations, you know what I'm saying? But I just know that I'm more motivated now. I feel more like a second wind of life. Of course that comes with the pandemic and pausing on doing music because I was helping my son. But like I said, to see the 50 years come through and then you see all these fellow artists my age or older releasing projects, it's reminding me of when me and Madlib used to, at Rome's, would be going to the record store like, yo, did this drop? This drop. Freestyle Fellowship drop. Farside drop. Souls of Mystery drop. Like those days, it's been a long time since it was like that. There was a time I didn't even listen to rap. You know what I'm saying? I would dive in myself, but I wasn't listening to rap because it wasn't feeling the same. So I would listen to more funk, soul, alternative, you know what I'm saying? But now it just seems like I don't know what's going on, what everybody's on, but everyone's like, okay, there's more people thinking I think like I am. Let's stop complaining about the old, the new. Let's get back to our grind and show them. Let's show and prove. And that motivation is one of those things. But like I said, family has been the one thing that's motivated me. And like I said, just dance, definitely dance. And yeah, man, because without that support system, it would have been a little harder.
Yeah, that makes sense. And with Child of a Kingsman 2, ironically, what you're saying, as you're explaining this, it made me think of Bat Signal because it's almost like you put out the bat signal for yourself,
Yes.
for your love of the music, your love of hip hop culture, but then also your love for dance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so with Kingsman, the song, and Bat Signal, the song, you talk about or you include discussion of things other than rapping. So you
Yeah.
got graffiti, you got dancing and different things. And these are atypical subject matter for rappers these days.
Yeah.
So how and why did you want to explore them in such depth?
The personal connection was there. There's a backstory to it, which I had to. In the 90s, when I was in high school with Madlib, and I gotta shout these cats, with Madlib, Lee, Barrett, Kaiwan, Jason, David, Peanut, rest in peace, Fred, all these guys I'm naming to you were all into dance. We used to dance on Soul Train. Some of them went on to dance for Janet in the Zoot Suits, if you remember in the All Right video. Those guys are all from Oxnard. But we was always arguing when one of us was told that there was a dance video documentary that came out on, I think it was PBS. Nobody watched PBS. You only had PBS if you didn't have cable. So that learning station, when it came out, we were like, what? A dance video on P? What are you talking about? And come to find it, it was from the crew Mob Top. And it was called Wreck and Shop. They dropped that video. I don't know how or why it ended up being on that network or how it's, that doesn't matter. It's besides the point. When it came out, one of us taped it, told one. It was just like as if one of us heard a new Rakim album and no one else heard that there was a new Rakim album, but one of us got it. So obviously one wants to borrow it. One wants to borrow it. The other one wants to borrow it. And we would fight teeth and nail. Who would borrow this VHS at the time? It was like a 90-minute documentary about how these guys danced. They almost reminded me of us rapping our beginning trials, but they were dancing. Individually, they danced for different people. Michael, Mariah Carey, they were different groups, Ziggy, Wise Guys, they went by different names. But their whole foundation, Mob Top, it was showing the aspect of the club, the battle scene, stuff that if you don't go outside of your area and watch, you wouldn't know unless you watched this documentary. So that stuck to me all these years. Buddha Stretch, who was like one of the more popular members of the group, my son and I met him through the years, became friends, and I just felt like they still got that same energy now than they did when I first seen that tape. They're just a little older. They still teach, they still respect the dance, and they also want to educate other people. So I was watching a lecture and I saw Stretch literally lay out what I was saying. And he just said it. This is from this is from this, because he's teaching these dancers. And some of these dancers, a lot of times when the dancers are learning, they only know dance. They don't know the other. They might have heard of the other cultures, the other aspects, but they don't know. So while I'm over here doing that from an MC perspective, he's doing it from a dance perspective. So I took that snippet, and with his permission, I told him, I almost called you to ask you to come and do a drop, but what you said in that clip was enough. And he gave me his blessings to use it. And that's the intro of the song Kingsman, which technically defines what a Kingsman is. And Bat Signal, that was also produced by a dancer, friend of mine, Beat Slayer. And that ended up linking with the story of my son, who started dancing at such a young age at 4, where I envisioned if I walked into his room, the nosy dad I am, I would see a journal. I would open the journal, and who do I see? He wrote a journal of all the dancers that inspired him from day one till now. And that's where I shout them out in the second verse, was all those dancers, And like I said, some of them danced for Janet. Some of them went from dancing to acting. I could see why they inspired him. And that's why I had to shout them out. But the Bat Signal was basically a combination of shouting them out and paying respect to them, but also acknowledging our brother Twitch, who's not with us anymore. He was also included in that. So that's pretty much, if the video was to be done or a 12-inch cover was made, the Bat Signal would actually be a silhouette of his face. That was the idea that I had. And it basically means anytime of us get on the dance floor and that song comes on, that's the Bat Signal. If I get a call that there's a club going on and there's a battle going on, that's the Bat Signal. So I say that all the time, but that's what it basically meant.